What would happen if you take this same gentleman and with all those issues and you add this other participant into the mix who has her own imbalances and issues? What do y'all think is going to happen? It's one big trauma bond, and it's dysfunction that's going to take place, and it's going to happen subconsciously where they don't even know why they're fighting each other, because the truth is you're not really fighting each other, you're fighting the past, but the past that's current or present in your body. This is Dr. Amin, who says when a trauma causes you to become stronger, it's called post-traumatic growth. PTG happens in about 10% of people who experience traumas, and includes a deepened spiritual life, a new appreciation of life, a vision for new possibilities, and a positive change. 10%? Why is that? Why is it so small? Because the traditional medical system is not necessarily about growth. It's about sustaining. But post-traumatic growth is something that we all have the ability to grow. We all have the ability to grow from traumatic events, and but you need the right tools. You need the right understanding. That's why only so many people who experience it are able to grow from it. And because we don't have the right tools widespread and the understanding, even though it's starting to grow, this quote on the right, this is the reason why mental health issues would be the medical problem of the 21st century, no question. But yes, because we don't know how to regulate, we don't know how to reprogram, and so we stay stuck and we live. Whatever we experience, we just live like that and carry that to the grave with us. We don't have to. Let's go next.
The second impact of trauma is
So trauma comes back as a reaction, not a memory. It's not that you're remembering things when these triggers are happening. That's just the body's natural reaction to what it perceives as threat. Again, it's going to process everything in its being. And if it's anything that reminds the brain body of an event that it was not safe in, it's going to have a trigger, unless you start to, again, address the brain and the body and to dissipate the triggers. Now, this is Dr. Gabor Mate, and he's going to talk about the impact of trauma and addiction.
Disconnect from other people. The second impact of trauma is you disconnect from other people. No, you just don't trust others. You feel very much isolated and on your own. So addiction is a very lonely kind of thing. Even if you use addiction to connect with other people, you're using it because you feel isolated. So there's a disconnection from other people, mistrust, and isolation. That's the second impact of trauma.
Now, Dr. Gabor Mate has written a book called The Myth of Normal. And I did a presentation on that some years ago talking about that, because the idea that basically trauma is abnormal is a fallacy. Trauma is very normal and a part of our day-to-day. I mean, it's people on this Zoom right now that probably know someone who experienced something traumatic today, or even yourself. We experience trauma and it's a part of life. We just need better strategies for suffering. So this is one of my favorite clips from The Matrix, because as we look back at everything I discussed, the question is, are you seeing clearly? Next question is, have you really seen anything? Because when you look through a trauma lens, that's not you. The perceptions that you see life through, if trauma is at the forefront, if those are your lenses, trauma lenses, that's why I call it awakening from the trauma matrix, that's not you. And people mistake that as being their personality. That's not you. That's just the suit, the technology trying to keep you alive. So this is when Neo first came out of the Matrix here on the movie The Matrix. Spoiler alert if you've never seen it. And he asked him, "Why do my eyes hurt?" That clip right there, if you don't know really what that means, that small clip, he said, "Why do my eyes hurt?" And Morpheus told him, "You never used them before," because he lived in this simulated reality that he thought was real. And it wasn't until they actually brought him out of that he was actually using his real eyes for the first time. This is why, again, I call it the trauma matrix. When you get the trauma patterns to dissipate and those triggers to dissipate, now you have space and you're able to see through a different lens. And that lens is going to be the lens of your real eyes and the first time you probably seen in your life. And this is something we have when people come into Inception. We see people all the time where like they're having these revelations. Oh my God, like I just realized that my parents and my family there, I need to get away from them. These are some of the revelations that people are having. Well, why couldn't you see that before? Why? So back to the thing, when you see people going through things and they know they should leave a certain situation, but they don't, why do they stay? Because of the programming. The programming is too strong. And that's why you have to do health-based modalities so to get some space. And how you get that space is by becoming quiet. We've heard this before, maybe church settings, they say go into a closet and pray and things of that nature. But the reason why they're saying that is because when the brain and the body is constantly dealing with, it needs a break. And that's where Dr. Einstein here is talking about the modern day nervous system craves disconnection. We have so much stimulus that's taking place on a day-to-day basis just from social media has created a monster. And even though it's just a resource, we don't know how to use that resource, just like we don't know how to use other resources, because our internal resources, we don't even know how to use. So when there comes other tools like the internet or social media, instead of using it in a resourceful way and becoming its master, it's become our masters. The same way food has become our master, the same way spending has become our master. Because the real truth is, if you just think about this, everything we're trying to do is to try to feel better. Mm-hmm. That's the basic thing. We're trying to feel better. When you think about anything that you want, I always ask the question, well, why do you want it? I say, well, I want it because of X, Y, and Z. And basically, when we go down this path, we always get to the point of they really want to change the way they feel. But the body and the brain is a pharmacy. It's creating all your emotions and your feelings. It creates everything. Without your body, you have no feelings or emotions. So where is the feeling or emotion taking place? Not outside of you. You might have had a stimulus cause your body to respond in a specific way, but the response still came from you. This is called living from the inside out. And this is why so many people talked about having imaginations when we were kids, because the imagination is what created the response in your body. The brain does not know the difference between what's real and what's fake. So if you can imagine something in your mind so strongly and you feel that in your body, then you just remove the middleman to your state of emotional consciousness, because the middleman that we've been programmed by is the capitalistic branding of you need this to feel better. You need these Jordans. This is going to give you the confidence you need. You need this BBL. This is going to give you the confidence that you need. But the confidence, where does it come from? It's still coming from inside the body. So let's go next.
David, I wanted to just go back to when you were talking about people who know they figure out that they have to get out of certain situations. For example, I need to, stay away from my mom or dad, right? In situations where they are, negative triggers for them. So how about like when you have situations where, especially culturally, I know a lot of cultures, even if, the person is raised in a traumatic household, instead of dealing with the trauma, a lot of times culturally, they'll just sweep things under the rug. So like that whole idea of, oh, you're not going to be around mom and dad because they're a trigger for you. You can't do that. That's disrespectful. Never mind what you went through. So how do you deal with that? Like, how would you, what's the advice you'd give for someone that goes through something like that?
Those are always the hard questions, because the thing is, creating boundaries will have you lose a lot of people, including family members. And that's always the most difficult thing, is one, creating boundaries for yourself and enforcing those boundaries. And it's really hard culturally when certain cultures don't respect boundaries, specifically from parent to kid. Like your boundaries, they don't care about that. Like I've seen that in so many different cultures where I'm like, wow, so it's really difficult. But the only answer is you don't have to do anything, first of all, but it's important to be understanding that this is your life, and you can't allow people to run over you. You can't allow that to happen. This is what you learn in therapy. This is just quick steps to therapy. You're going to learn that you have to become your own parents.